Include, prepend, extend. There are three ways in Ruby to use modules. Let's see how they work. Okay, let's start with include. So let's say we have a module M that has an instance method and a class C that includes that module. Now, we can see first of all that the module M lists as an instance method our IMET, right? So it means it's gonna be inherited by whoever includes the module M. So since our class includes it, we can take a look at, first of all, the ancestors, I guess. And we can see that the module M was added right above the class C. And then we can check that the instance of the class as a method has IMET, right? So this means that we can actually do c.new and then we can call IMET. Now let's take a look at Prepend. So we have the same module M, but now we create a class C2 that prepends the module. Now the way this works is pretty much similar to the previous one, with one exception. If we take a look at the ancestors of C2, we see that the module M was actually added right below the class C2. But still, we can pretty much call it the same way as before. Now, if you saw my previous video about the Ruby lookup method chain, this will not come as a surprise, but let's take a look at it regardless. So let's say that our class C actually both includes the module M, but also defines its own IMET method. Now, if we call IMET, since include adds the module in the ancestors above the including class, whenever we call IMET, we're actually calling the IMET in the class. And if we do the same sort of thing for the class C2 that is prepending M, we will see a different behavior, because whenever we are prepending, we are actually adding the module in the ancestors chain below the including class. So that is going to be called as first. The nice property that comes out of this is that, let's say we don't have control over the class C2, but we want to enhance its IMET method. We still want to call it, but we want to do some stuff around it. So what we can do is that if we define the module M with the IMET method, and we do something like, for example, module super module, then we can externally, as a monkey patch, take the class C2 and prepend our module M. And now whenever we call the instance method IMET on that class C2, we will see that we actually monkey patched it by still using IMET on the class, but doing some things before and some things after it. Okay, let's move to extend. So let's say we have our usual module, which has the IMET method. And then we have a class C3 that extends the module M. What does this mean? It means that we just added the IMET method from the module as a class method this time. So we can see it from looking at what C3 can invoke on itself. And here we have IMET. Now, the way it works is, as usual, we call it directly on the C3 object. But the interesting thing here is that if you saw the previous video, you already know this, but there are actually no class methods in Ruby. And in fact, this this IMET method sits on C3 as an object, as a singleton method, right? Which means it's actually not on the class of C3, but it's sitting in the singleton class of the object C3. Right? So we can actually access the singleton class and see what are the instance methods, which means the methods that would be and that are inherited by the instances of the singleton class C3. And we will find that our IMET is there. So whenever we extend an object, we are actually adding to the singleton class of that object. And we can clearly see it here if, for example, we create a new object, we can then extend that object with the module m. And then, since we just extended the singleton class of the object obj, we can actually call the iMath method directly on it. Okay, I just want to share one more trick. Let's call it include and extend. So let's say we have a module m that has the usual instance method. And then let's say we want to add also some class methods to the class that is including this module. So we can make use of a hook. Ruby will call it for us. And it gets past the including class so that we can actually extend another module that we can define inside of the module m, where we define a class method that, let's say, returns the same string. So now we can define a class C4 that includes the module m. And now we have a couple of interesting behaviors here. First of all, we can call cmet directly on C4 because that was added to the singleton class of C4 via the extend in the self.included method. But also, we can use the iMath method because that was included in the ancestors chain right above the C4 class. And that's it. Include adds the module in the ancestor chain right above the current class. Prepend right below the current class. And extend evaluates the module in the receiver's singleton class.